During these severely challenging times, there is more uncertainty than ever, and a seemingly ever-decreasing reliability on a solid foundation of reality. The film The Matrix posed this very question. What is reality? For me, in the spring of 1999, when I caught an afternoon matinee on that first Friday of release, reality was completely and irrevocably changed forever. I often say about my experience of seeing The Matrix for the first time that I entered the theater one person and exited someone else entirely. The reasons the film had such a powerful effect on me, I wasn't really able to articulate at the time. Its grip was total and unwavering, and yet I welcomed its imposing and captivating ideas, taking up real estate in my mind. It wasn't really the individual pieces that mattered, but the sum total of all of its parts working in perfect harmony. The Wachowskis, the film's visionary architects, had crafted something that seemed impossible. Indeed, the film itself was a near miracle. It was almost never made, with many false starts at Warner Brothers, who probably didn't quite know what they had. The Wachowskis, who had a modest upbringing in Chicago, had started as comic book writers, but their considerable talents would inevitably lead them to Hollywood and the screenwriting trade. Success would prove elusive at first, with their script Assassins totally rewritten, and they tried unsuccessfully to have their names removed from the eventual film. Burned by the experience, they realized that in order to protect their careers, they needed more control over their work. Stepping into the director's chair would do just that, and their first film, Bound, the erotic neo-noir thriller, was a creative success, if not necessarily a financial one. It didn't matter, though. Their impossible-to-ignore talents were not lost on Warner Brothers, who, after several stops and starts, greenlit The Matrix. Not much was known about the film before release. Occasionally one would see blurry pictures of Keanu Reeves in a black trench coat and heavily armed pop up on some internet movie news site. Anticipation was there, but it was not considerable. Reeves's presence did not instill much confidence in the film. Back then, he was a bit of a punchline in the fandom community, being mostly known for the Bill and Ted films and his recent box office bomb and critical laughingstock, Johnny Mnemonic. His cool factor hadn't yet kicked in. But that all changed in the spring of '99, as The Matrix became a box office phenomenon and cultural touchstone, with its bullet time effects, instantly iconic characters, and unusually intelligent storyline. The Matrix was the kind of smart, mind-bending sci-fi that fit perfectly in a new world that was being taken over by digital technology. The film dared to pose the notion that many had been feeling at that point on the eve of the new millennium. At that point, what we called reality could be thought of as a tightly controlled exercise in corporate gamesmanship. Almost every aspect of a person's existence was somehow controlled by an institution of some kind, whether it be educational, financial, governmental, or entertainment. It was easy to see why many felt that human existence had become an inauthentic experience. The Wachowskis and Warner Brothers' timing proved exquisite. The film came along at the perfect time to provide some sort of roadmap in the landscape of meaning. What was reality? For the characters in The Matrix, the reality they had been brainwashed into accepting was a computer-generated dream world, a fantasy of ones and zeros, a coded simulation, a prison built for the minds of humanity. But the lessons of the film would seemingly be lost on the population. For them, it was just that cool, trippy action thriller with catchy buzzwords like
the blue pill, the red pill,
kung fu, guns, lots of guns.
In the ensuing years, the institutional control that had planted itself in the real world took up residence in a new territory. The same computerized landscape of ones and zeros that the Wachowskis had cautioned people against in their seminal film. This new landscape of the World Wide Web, with its instant gratification, inexhaustible sources of information, and addictive social media networks would essentially become the same dangerous, mind-altering prison the Wachowskis fictionalized in The Matrix. Google, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok. Even the names insinuate simplistic, almost infant-like gibberish. But the names themselves don't actually mean anything. And yet, they account for a large chunk of the lives of the population. To be clear, there is nothing wrong with social media. It has no inherent quality. It's a tool, like any other. And, like a hammer can be used to build a house or break a window, The value or lack thereof of social media is completely dependent on the users. Unfortunately, most people aren't aware of just how much of their power they give away to the technocrats that control these platforms. In The Matrix, the characters move freely between the real world and the computer-generated dream world the machine antagonists have created to enslave humanity. Inside the Matrix, the machines have installed powerful programs called agents. These agents are autonomous and tasked with policing the population, influencing them in order to keep the status quo. On some social media networks, there are social bots. A social bot is an agent that communicates more or less autonomously on social media, tasked with influencing discussion and the opinions of its readers. The parallels here are plainly obvious. And the agents of the Matrix can literally appear out of nowhere, taking the place of a real person, essentially deleting them entirely. Step out of line and say the wrong thing, and your social media experience can vanish before your very eyes. On social media, the manner in which people behave and communicate is often heavily contrasted with the way they act offline. The most glaring examples are those who are fired from their jobs for engaging in reprehensible behavior online. For all intents and purposes, these people acted one way in public and a totally different way when they were jacked into the internet. Many people wouldn't dare say the things they say on social media when they're offline and in public. In The Matrix, the characters who are free enough to move from one reality to another act one way while jacked in, and another when they're not. Inside the Matrix, they're essentially troublemakers. They defy the rule of law, wreaking havoc wherever they go. They essentially have the freedom and abilities to do what they can't do in the real world. This is even reflected in their choice of attire. I mean, who would ever dress like this outside of a computer simulation, unless you're Marilyn Manson? The point is, the Matrix offers a sense of opportunity that is easily taken advantage of, much like our internet. And in the case of activist causes, it is much more fashionable to tweet a hashtag than it is to act out those belief systems and affect a real social change. In a sense, social media becomes a hall of mirrors, an echo chamber, reflecting everything back on itself so that nothing ever escapes. And while people do protest and revolt in reality, many of them are using social media to communicate their idealism and frustrations, and as a result, the vast majority of these protests and revolts don't ever seem to stick or reflect any real social change. It's as if the country gets mad for a few days and then everything goes back to normal. The pull of the social media dream world is too strong to resist, with its never-ending stream of distraction. Artificial intelligences are becoming an ever-increasing factor in how our lives are governed. On YouTube, there is a computer algorithm that seeks out certain waveforms in uploaded content. This algorithm flags and removes the content in question if it violates the rules. These algorithms have no ability to understand context, no ability to understand the provision of fair use or freedom of expression. They are programs designed to do one thing, and they are a huge governing body on one of the most populated sites on the internet. Likewise, recommendation engines control much of what you see and experience on social media. These artificial intelligences study your habits online, interpreting certain patterns of behavior, and then present you with a series of ads and interactions that keep you locked into your own bubble of experience. These techniques are designed to keep you online for as long as possible. In fact, social media itself is designed to keep you scrolling, because if you're scrolling, you aren't going anywhere. For many people, take away their smartphone and computer and their reality crumbles. The real world can't compete with digital satiation. When Neo is removed from his digital coffin, his world is turned upside down. He can barely function, and when presented with the truth, he violently rejects it. He would rather go back into his digital tomb than exist in a world where he can't have the comforts of electronic simulation. Reality was too harsh. But what he came to learn was that reality was far better than being imprisoned by forces who were only using humanity for their own gain. In The Matrix, the dream world was designed to keep humans asleep and locked into a controlled reality. For many people, the reality of social media is often more real than actual reality. In the case of cyberbullying, a study showed that adolescents who reported cyberbullying were more than 11 times more likely to have suicidal thoughts. Compare this to those who reported verbal bullying, who were only 8 times as likely to have suicidal thoughts. In another study, 75% of adolescents who experienced cyberbullying had higher suicidal thoughts than those who experienced verbal bullying. These young people will someday grow into functioning adults and become the dominant force on the planet. If the world of computers and social media are essentially more real than actual reality for these people, where will that lead us as a species? Before the internet took over our lives, there was a sense of anticipation in the air over what a digital future might bring. Many were excited by the possibilities of where an endless digital landscape might take us. And while the internet has certainly brought the world many benefits, the price we are paying for those benefits may be too big a check for humanity to cash. In the Matrix, the humans were triumphant in defeating the machine army, the tyrannical forces that had created a virtual prison for their species. In our reality, the simplicity of a 3-act story with its wrapped-in-a-bow resolution and pathos can only serve as parable. It is up to us to finish the story and create our own happy ending. If you enjoyed this video, consider hitting the like and subscribe button, as I'll be posting more content in the future. Thanks for watching.